Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Diucapkan kepada yang dihormati Penghulu MCOT Saudara Nifahan dan barisan izin jawatan kuasa. Seterusnya yang dihormati Pak Cik Nazri, Penghulu MCCH, Brother Amin, Adestawani, dan seterusnya hadirin-hadirat yang dirahmati Allah sekalian. Bersyukur kita kepada Ilahi dengan limpah dan kurnianya dapat kita bersama-sama berkumpul dalam Majlis Penutup MAXIS 2012. 15 hari yang lalu kita bersama-sama berkumpul dalam Majlis Pembukaan MAXIS di McDougall Prayer Hall, dan 15 hari kemudian kita bersama-sama di sini. Selawat dan salam diucapkan kepada baginda sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kepada dengan usaha beliau. Kita sama-sama berkongsi salah satu nikmat yang paling besar oleh Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, iaitu nikmat Islam dan juga nikmat iman. Jadi bagi meneruskan majlis dan memberkati majlis, saya dengan segala hormatnya menjemput saudara syahid-syahidan untuk membacakan doa. Dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan.
Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma innaka ta'lam anna hadhihi al-qulub qad ijtama'at ala mahabbatik wa iltaqat ala ta'atik wa tawahhadat ala da'watik wa ta'ahadat ala nusrati syari'atik. Fawathiq Allahumma rabitataha wa adim ad-da'wa biha sidulaha wa amla'ha binurika alladhina yahbu wa ashraf sururaha bifaydihi وجميع توكل عليك وأهلها وألفتك ومتبع على الشهادة في سبيلك إنك نعم المولى ونعم النصير. اللهم اجعلنا من الناجحين الفائزين في الدين في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وعلى طاعتك. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami mohon padamu, ya Allah, ampunkan segala dosa-dosa hamba-Mu yang lemah ini, ya Allah. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, pada hari ini kami sudah sampai ke penghujung Majlis MAXIS pada tahun 2012, ya Allah. Yang mudah-mudahan majlis pada kali ini, Majlis MAXIS pada tahun ini juga diberkati oleh-Mu, ya Allah, mencapai objektif-objektifnya, ya Allah, mencapai sasaran pesertanya, ya Allah. Dan dengan moga-moga dengan program MAXIS ini, ya Allah, jadi satu wasilah untuk kami dekat padamu, ya Allah. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adzaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillahi rabbil
alamin. Ya Rabbal Alamin, diucapkan kepada saudara syahid-syahidan. Seterusnya saya dengan segala hormatnya menjemput saudara Nifahan, Penghulu MCOT, untuk memberikan sedikit ucapan. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Qala Allah fil kitabil aziz: A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Walladzi arsala rasulahu bil huda wa dinil haqq liyudhhirahu 'ala ad-dini kullihi walau karihal musyrikun. Pertamanya saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada tuan pengurusi majlis kerana memberi ruang untuk saya bercakap pada malam ini, Allah. Juga yang saya hormati Penghulu MCCH, Pak Cik Nazri, para panelis forum pada malam ini, EDK penganjur MAXIS 2012, dan yang tidak dilupakan hadirin hadirat yang dikasihi Allah sekalian. Seperti yang ayat yang telah saya bacakan tadi, mafhumnya Lebih kurang maknanya Allah menurunkan Rasul dan bawa agamanya Islam sekali untuk dibenarkan di atas segala agama yang ada di atas muka bumi ini, walaupun ianya tidak disukai oleh orang-orang musyrik. Ayat di atas menerangkan bahawa apa yang kita boleh dapat daripada ayat ini ialah Allah telah memberitahu perkara yang akan berlaku pada masa depan, iaitu Islam ini akan menang di atas segala agama yang ada di atas muka bumi ini. Saya teringat ucapan saya pada majlis pembukaan MAXIS 15 hari yang lalu. Saya mengatakan akan kepentingan dakwah, dan MAXIS ini merupakan salah satu wasilah dakwah, dan kami mengharapkan yang agar kami sebagai penganjur MAXIS kali ini dan mengharapkan agar hadirin hadirat boleh menjadi pendukung, peserta dan juga penonton bagi MAXIS ini. Ayat ini tujuannya saya membacakan ayat ini pada hari ini adalah untuk menjadi semangat untuk kita meneruskan apa yang telah kita lakukan sepanjang MAXIS kali ini. Bersesuaian dengan tema MAXIS 2012, iaitu The Beginning of New You. Maknanya MAXIS ini menjadi permulaan bagi seseorang yang baru. Ianya tidak bermaksud orang yang kurang baik merupakan permulaan sesuatu yang baik. Ianya bermaksud kalau orang itu yang sudah baik menjadi lebih baik. Kalau seperti situasi tadi, orang yang kurang baik maknanya akan menjadi lebih baik. Dan ayat ini boleh menjadikan sebagai satu motivasi untuk kita terus menjalankan apa yang telah kita lakukan sepanjang MAXIS ini. Kami telah menyusun beberapa program di dalam MAXIS ini, kalau kita semua perasan dan kita semua tahu. Bermula dengan majlis pembukaan MAXIS dan diteruskan dengan Kozi, dengan Highway to Hell, dan kesemua aktiviti ini dirancang untuk memberi spark, untuk menjadi pemula kepada perubahan yang akan berlaku pada diri kita, insyaAllah. Hadirin hadirat, ingatlah bahawa janji Allah itu pasti berlaku. Ada satu lagi ayat yang sama seperti ayat dalam surah As-Saff. Ayat ke-9 tadi adalah ayat Al-Quran, surah At-Taubah ayat ke-33. Ayatnya sama dengan ayat yang Allah rakamkan dalam surah As-Saff tadi, yang juga bermaksud mafhum yang sama. Jadi kesimpulannya adalah kami mengharapkan agar kami sebagai penganjur dan juga peserta-peserta MAXIS 2012 kali ini dapat mengambil inisiatif daripada apa yang telah dirancang sepanjang MAXIS kali ini dan diteruskan lagi selepas ini, insyaAllah. And for Amin, I'm very sorry to give a speech in Malay, so that next time we will give in English. We are very sorry about that. So, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you to Nik Farhan. Tonight we are very fortunate because we have a special guest that would share us a few bit of news about things that are happening in Syria. So before we proceed, I would like to give a little bit of introduction to him. His name is Amin Astawani. He is a British Syrian. Currently he's a second year law student at the University of Manchester. He's living in Manchester and was hailed from Damascus. He holds a few posts. Currently he's the Vice President of University of Manchester ISOC and the head of the British Syrian Youth. His parents suffered under the Assad regime in the 1980s, and he frequently traveled to Syria a few times before. So I would like to give the stage to Brother Amin, and hopefully we could benefit from his details about Syria.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in wa man wala. I greet you all with the most beautiful, the most peaceful, and the most blessed of greetings ever known to mankind. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would just like to thank my dear friend Saifullah and the brothers and sisters from MCOT for organising this event and for inviting me. It really is a pleasure for me as your Muslim brother in Islam to come and speak to you. Today is the 15th of March. Exactly 1 year ago, some Muslim individuals in Syria, in the area of Idlib, came out of their homes and did something that hadn't been witnessed for many, many, many years in Syria, and they came out and they protested. So today is a special day because it marks the anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of the Syrian revolution. So inshallah, I'm not going to be too long. I'm going to give you a brief summary of Syria as a country. Inshallah, I'll go into the revolution itself and what exactly happened, and I'll give you some insight into what my dad suffered under the regime, under the Assad regime. So, first of all, the country. Syria is a country in the Middle East bordered by Palestine, Palestine and Jordan. It has a population of 27 million people. The majority are Sunni Muslims. However, there are the Alawite sects, which are members of the Shiites or Shia sects of Islam, and so they are a minority. So it's mainly Sunnis, and then there are a small percentage of the population which is from the Alawite sect, and then there's a very, very small minority of Christians and some other sects as well. So, just to give you very quickly a brief summary of the history. What happened was, in 1970, we had Hafiz al-Assad, who was a member of the military, and he's from the Alawite family, the Alawite sect. And he took over a military coup. So, this is 1970. A member of the Alawite sect in Syria, he took over, and he was a brutal dictator. From that moment in 1970, he persecuted the Sunni Muslims in the country. Things built up from 1970, and it came to the 1980s, and the Muslims, they started resisting. In particular, if you know the Ikhwan movement, the Muslim Brotherhood, which formed in Egypt by the great Hassan al-Banna, and was some of the Syrian Sunni Muslims were inspired by the Ikhwan movement, and they took it on, and they set it as their job to resist this dictator, Hafiz al-Assad. So anyway, things built up and they started resisting. And in the 1980s, what they did was they started gathering together, and it came to a point where Hafiz al-Assad, this dictator who was in charge, he's from the Alawite sect. Which, by the way, I didn't mention, the Alawis are considered, as a consensus by all scholars, to be outside Islam. So the Shias are part of Islam, but this sect in particular, they're outside Islam because of their beliefs. So it built up, and in 1983, what happened was some of these Syrians from the Ikhwan, they gathered a couple of the soldiers from the Alawite regime. What the Alawite regime, they were very kind of concerned with training their youth. So they got them, they used to train them in camps. So these Muslim Sunnis, they got, I think there was about 400 of them in a building, okay, and they killed them all. They killed them all in resistance, against, because these Sunni Muslims, they've been oppressed since 1970. Many Syrians, they disagree with this kind of small, group of Ikhwan in terms of, they said no, it should be peaceful. But anyway, these group of Ikhwan, they said no, we've been waiting too long, we need to resist, we need to do jihad, we need to fight, so they killed them. Anyway, in terms of whether they were right or wrong, we'll leave it aside. But after that, Hafiz al-Asad, when he saw that, he went crazy. What he did was, some of you will know about the Hama massacre. 1983, he went to the city of Hama, which is one of the biggest cities in Syria, and basically what they did, they came to each house and they asked for every male above the age of 15 to come out. They got them all together and they slaughtered them all. Estimates, there are estimates that 40,000 people were killed. 40,000 people were killed. So that was the Hama massacre. Now, coming to more recent times, Hafiz al-Asad, he died in 2000. Okay, his dad, Bashar al-Assad, who's the president now, he took over. Many people said that his son, Bashar al-Assad, would be better, he'd reform, but still, up to 2010, before the revolution, it's the same thing. In Syria, where you've got a dictator who's oppressing the people, economically, socially, there's no democracy, they don't have rights. Anyone who speaks out is thrown into prison, they're tortured, and this is all Syrians. Very, very quickly, let me go to what my father experienced. My father came to the UK in 1982. 1982 means he came here 1 year before what? Before the Hama massacre. Essentially, my dad, because he was a practicing Muslim, he was persecuted and oppressed. He was actually in 1980 sent to prison for 2 years before he left. I'm not going to go into what exactly or how he suffered, but just to give you an example, he told me, he said what they do to the Syrians in these prisons, they make Guantanamo Bay look like a children's play camp. Okay, so just to make you understand, those Alawis, the things they do, you wouldn't believe a human being would do them. The torture they put people under is, you can't even begin to contemplate or think about. So my dad was sent to prison, he was there for 2 years. Luckily, he managed to leave and he left and came to the UK. But many of his friends remained in prison, and some of them, he doesn't know, they could still be in prison, they could have died. So, and inshallah, to finish now, things, remained, and people were oppressed up until, I said, the revolution started in March last year. What happened in March last year was, there was a couple of children in a school, okay, and they wrote graffiti on the wall against Bashar al-Assad. These are kids. So what happened? Government security forces came in and they took the children in and they tortured them. So these are children and they tortured them. So what happened when the people saw that? They came up and they rose. It just started with some people from Idlib and then it spread across the country, and this is how the revolution started. The Syrians from 1970 till 2010, they've been living under fear. In the dictatorship, people live under fear. But alhamdulillah, last year in March, that that fear was broken, and now they've risen up, and since then, they no longer fear anything. They no longer fear that. Every day they go out to protest, although they know they might die, and they still go out and they still protest. Since March last year, today, obviously, the revolution is still continuing. More than 10,000 people have died. More than 200,000 people have been in prison. And most of you have been watching on the news. The stuff they do to people is horrible. They torture babies in front of their parents. They rape the women. SubhanAllah, they've gone to unbelievable extents. But I want to give you all good, glad tidings, which is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wills everything, okay? He's the most wise, He's the most merciful. So He chose for the Syrian revolution to last this length. So you might ask, why in Tunisia did the revolution finish quickly? Why in Egypt did it finish quickly? Why in Libya it only took 3 months? Why in Syria, why has it taken 12 months? Why do the Syrian people suffer? Why have they suffered for so long? And I believe, and Sheikh Nabil Al-Awadi, who's a very, very famous sheikh in Saudi Arabia, he said this today. I felt this for a long time, but he said it today. He confirmed what I felt for a long time, which he said, you know, specifically the country of Syria, the Prophet ﷺ, there's many ahadith which relate specifically why this country is special. This country is special for the Muslims. And so this sheikh said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's made sure this revolution has lengthened so the Syrian people are purified. If you look at the Syrian people before the revolution and after, look at them when they protest. When they come out, what are they shouting? They're shouting, there's one name on their lips, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They said, Ma'anna illa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have no one but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I bring you glad tidings that this revolution actually has been a blessing, because the Syrian people now, they've returned completely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've returned completely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And hopefully, when Bashar al-Assad falls, and inshallah he will fall, I believe from this land, the revival of Islam is going to occur. From this land, the revival of Islam is going to occur. Remember, you've got Palestine on the border, so inshallah, after the liberation of Syria, the liberation of Palestine and Palestine will come, and hopefully the revival of Islam in the world. So, when you think about why this revolution has taken so long, 12 months, I believe it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to purify these Muslims. So, He wanted to purify them, so now they've become completely purified, they've returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely. Completely. If you look at them, look at what they've been through every single day, they still go out to protest, and they still shout Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name. So, all I can ask is, on this day, where we remember the martyrs, remember over 10,000 people have been killed, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send them to the highest heavens, inshallah, to bless their children, the widows, the wives that they left. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of our Muslim brothers and sisters in Syria, because inshallah they will take on their shoulders the revival of Islam. And so that's why, you know, I'm Syrian, but even if I was Malaysian, even if I was Pakistani, even if I was Afghanistani, the Syrian issue is a Muslim issue. It's an issue we should all back, inshallah. So please remember them in your du'as. Again, jazakallah khairan. You know, it's a pleasure and blessing for me to speak in front of my Muslim brothers and sisters. And jazakallah for organizing this event today. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum. I actually have to go. I focused on it early, so I'm going to have to leave. So I'm only able to stay for the panel. So I apologize for that, but
Jazakallah khairan to Brother Amin for his insight about Syria just now. There's a lot of things that we could take from his speech just now, like reciting our prayer for the Syrian brothers in Islam there. So without further ado, with the insight shared by Brother Amin just now, so we'll continue with the program. So I would like to invite the moderator for today and all the panelists to take their seat in front.